On January 3, 2026, the United States launched a large-scale military strike against Venezuela, targeting key sites in and around the capital, Caracas, and capturing Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife. The dramatic operation, confirmed by U.S. President Donald Trump on social media, shocked much of the world and marked one of the most direct U.S. military interventions in Latin America in decades. In the early hours of Saturday, multiple explosions were reported across Venezuela's capital, Caracas, and nearby regions. Smoke and low-flying aircraft were spotted over military bases and urban areas, while power outages were reported in parts of the city as loud blasts echoed through the streets. According to Trump's statement, the United States carried out a large-scale strike, during which elite forces seized President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores, and flew them out of the country. Trump said the operation was carried out in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement and promised further details in a press conference scheduled later the same day. U.S. military officials told international media outlets that Delta Force, a highly trained special operations unit, conducted the capture mission. The Trump administration has offered a set of reasons for its actions against Venezuela. 1. Narcoterrorism and drug trafficking. President Trump and his advisors have repeatedly linked the Venezuelan government to drug trafficking networks, alleging that Venezuelan institutions and criminal groups such as the Cartel de los Soles and the Tren de Aragua contribute to the flow of narcotics into the United States. U.S. authorities have labeled these groups as foreign terrorist organizations and rolled out a campaign targeting vessels and infrastructure tied to alleged drug smuggling. 2. Migration and national security. Trump has claimed that Venezuela has been a major source of irregular migration to the United States, including individuals released from Venezuelan prisons, mental health facilities, and criminal networks. Though evidence for these specific claims has not been independently verified, they have been used by the administration to justify pressure on Caracas. 3. Illegitimate governance. The U.S. government has long rejected Maduro's leadership as illegitimate, especially following elections that Washington and other foreign observers found problematic. The Trump administration recognized opposition figures as Venezuela's rightful leaders and repeatedly sought to isolate Maduro's government diplomatically. The attack and capture triggered immediate responses around the world. Venezuela's government declared a state of emergency, condemned the U.S. action as military aggression, and demanded proof of life for Maduro and his wife. Regional leaders such as Colombia's president criticized the strikes and warned of instability along borders. Governments in countries like Cuba and Iran strongly denounced the U.S. operation as a flagrant violation of sovereignty and international law, referenced in broader reporting. This military action did not happen overnight. Relations between the United States and Venezuela had deteriorated over years. Since Hugo Chavez came to power in 1999, and especially under Maduro's presidency, Washington has repeatedly criticized Caracas for authoritarian practices and economic mismanagement. Over the past year, the U.S. ramped up military and economic pressure, including the seizure of oil tankers, naval deployments in the Caribbean, and sustained air and maritime operations targeting vessels accused of drug trafficking. Sanctions on Venezuelan oil companies and expanded military alerts around Venezuelan waters contributed to deepening hostility. These long-running tensions set the stage for the sudden and unprecedented military action earlier this week. The capture of Maduro raises enormous questions. Who will govern Venezuela in the immediate aftermath of his removal? Maduro's vice president and government officials have rejected the U.S. claims and continue to assert sovereignty. What legal process awaits Maduro and his wife in the United States? Trump has suggested they could face trial on criminal charges. How will regional stability be affected? There are concerns that the power vacuum could lead to internal unrest, mass displacement, or even armed resistance from loyalist forces. The sudden military strike and reported capture represent a dramatic escalation in U.S.-Venezuela relations and one of the most significant interventions in the region in decades. With deep geopolitical implications, from drug trafficking policy to migration debates, oil geopolitics, and international law, the world now watches as Venezuela enters a period of deep uncertainty. Stay tuned for ongoing updates.